Hello everyone, Earl Henderson, Primordial Defense. Thank you for watching. I have another Monday quarterback video for you. This comes out of New Jersey, and if you've watched any of my other New Jersey videos, then you'll understand the weirdness of this, I guess. You could say it's weirdness. So, in New Jersey, back in 2019, a law was passed saying that the New Jersey Attorney General's office would investigate the deaths of persons when there was encounters with law enforcement, and then that they would release materials to the public for transparency purposes. I cannot recall if I've done any videos where one of the agencies in New Jersey actually had a community briefing type of format. And whenever the Attorney General's office in New Jersey releases materials, they don't do a presentation video. They just list all the files on their website, and then you have to go click in them and watch them. There's no spokesperson explaining to you what's going on or anything like that. On some of the previous ones I've done on New Jersey through this site, the files weren't even in sequential order. They were kind of mixed matched, and it was kind of hard to piece it all together and see what came first and what came second, what came third, etc. This one actually seems to be in sequential order. 911 calls goes to the radio broadcast, and it goes into the body cameras, and they all seem to be pretty well in order. Since I'm having to go through this site this way and play the audio and play the video, I'm not going to do my normal play the entire thing and then go back and talk about things as they're going on, because that would require a lot of editing to be able to go in and go into each video, talk about what's going on in that video, exit out, go into another one, etc. So as we go along, to be able to save on time on editing, I will just pause intermittently and talk about things that are going on to better explain what's going on and talk about things that I think that were done right and or done wrong. So to give you some background on this particular case, looking at tapinto.net, a little news article by Rod Hirsch. Hillsborough, New Jersey, the State Attorney General's office on Monday, and this comes from February 28th, by the way. The State Attorney General's office on Monday released recordings of 3 911 calls, video footage from 4 body-worn cameras, a taser camera video, and police radio communications related to the fatal police-involved shooting that occurred on January 9 inside the apartment of Joshua Mathis, 19, who was killed. The January 9 incident was the second police-involved fatal shooting in Hillsborough within 4 months. We'll skip through that. Skip. The recordings were released in response to an OPRA request and pursuant to policies established by the Attorney General's office in 2019 that are designed to promote the fair, impartial, and transparent investigation of fatal police encounters. Investigators met Monday with Mathis' family to review the recordings. The recordings are posted online. According to the preliminary investigation, 5 officers of the Hillsborough Police Department responded at 6:12 p.m. to Mathis' residence in an apartment on Corporal Langan Way after receiving 3 911 calls. 2 of those calls were made by Mathis. When officers arrived, they encountered Mathis inside the apartment holding a knife. During the encounter, Mathis also took out an imitation gun from his waistband, which he threw to the floor. At approximately 6:26 p.m., Mathis advanced towards the officers with a knife raised. Officer Christopher Michaels deployed his taser at Mathis and then fired his service weapon, fatally wounding Mathis. Police and emergency personnel rendered first aid, and Mathis was pronounced deceased at the scene at 6:51 p.m. The investigation is ongoing, and no further information is being released at this time. And then it talks about it being investigated by, or it's being conducted pursuant to state law. Blah, 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 and I'll skip it. All right. So with that out of the way, let's get into this. We'll start with the 911 calls, the radio broadcast, and then we'll go into the videos. Okay. Not the first.
Where's your emergency?
Do this, I don't care.
Hello, 911.
I have a gun, and if you come close to me, I will kill you and me.
Sir, where are you?
My location.
Where are you, sir?
I'm sorry.
Where's your emergency?
Hurry. If I was you, hurry.
Hello, where are you at? You need to tell me where you're at.
If you come close to me, I will kill you.
Sir, where are you? Can you tell me where you're at?
Where's your emergency?
495 Amber Road in Hillsborough.
What's going on there?
I have well, he's not my. I have a kid that lives with me, and he's going through some things right now. He got a knife in his hand, and
Can you go with the address again, ma'am?
Huh?
Okay, can you step outside and speak to the officer? They're there.
Oh, okay. Okay, I'm going now. Okay.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Hillsborough cars for a person with a gun.
10-3-4.
On 911, somebody stating a male there has a gun intending to harm people. Anyone who will try to...
Can you spot that location?
Stating that anyone who tries to come near him. Cars be advised, we're going off GPS on our phone at the moment. 16 meters.
10-37. County, do we know what kind of rifle or handgun?
Nothing yet, I'm getting further. Cars be advised, line to disconnect. We've attempted multiple times with no answer. The address, or that address shows possibly a group home there. 743 County, can you get a better location? It's Corporal Langenway. We're working on it.
County, do we have a name or no?
Everything I have so far.
10-4 County, riding,
10-4-3 County, the rest of the ship will be on location. Hillsborough cars. We possibly have the owner of the phone, or Joshua Mathis, showing
10-4 copy.
10-10 Kennedy, where are you?
Open Langman?
Kennedy, you see that address? 10-4-3 County, do you know if it's Corporal Langan or Corporal Langan? All I have is for the address of or taking a guess. 10-5-4 County, he had myself and 10-5-7 to that call.
County, go with that address again, the number.
And the apartment that shows on a possible match for the phone is backup units coming in. Check to make sure our vehicles are secure. 457 out. 10-10 County. Can we get a... Hey, firm, we're trying.
Little D, do you have
Outside? We're confirming now. Negative. And that's up. Alright, come down here. County, it's going to be overlaying left. County, you have a code for the door? County, we have any more contact? Negative on contact. I have a gate code, access code. County, go your last? Both gate and access. 10-4 through the cars. It's going to be Corporal Langan Way, all the way to the east side of the building, lower level. Cars, we also apparently got hold of now. She's going to be stepping out. She stated that he was armed with a knife only. Receive, we're over there now. 10-4-3 shots fired. Get ALS, BLS rolling. Hey, Clinton County, shots fired. County, we need ALS. Shots fired. Suspect down. Down 1827, Volt dispatch. County, do we have an additional BLS unit 2 here? Be advised, we're putting medevac on standby. Hillsborough cars, the scene secure for BLS roll. Scene secure, CPR in progress. Scene secure, CPR in progress, 1830.
County, you have 10-11 out here also.
10-6 as well. 10-10 County. Can you advise the on-call major crimes from prosecutor's office, please? 10-4-7 County, I'm going to need an ambulance for the you may be having an asthma attack. Receive. Do you need an additional as a third, or the 2 are satisfied? Okay, 1034 status.
I'm okay, so.
Be advised, all medevacs are declining at this time due to weather.
Gentlemen, again. Where's the third ambulance?
Advised where they're coming out of, they're working on getting the third one.
Alright, let me know when you hear where they are at.
10-10 County. Can you let Mandeville and Montgomery know we may need mutual aid if we have any more calls in town? Hey, firm. Can you possibly call in so we can patch you in with the detectives for major crimes? Your phone number in the roster is not working. Go back, 10-10. The major crimes on the line, your number doesn't work. Can you call in? Edmonds, is that you walking on the sidewalk? Turn back around and walk towards me. To number Corporal Lang Way. County update on 30 ambulance.
Bravo 1, assigned, still waiting.
Alright, when they come in, tell them to come in Corporal Lang Way off and have them stay at that intersection. And I'll tell them where I need them.
10-11, you still need an ambulance?
Yeah, do you have an ambulance available for go into?
The ambulance just checked out the. They're clear now. Do you need them?
Yeah, have them back up to this intersection over here. Officer Michaels is going in there.
10-11, we're grabbing the stretcher in his med bag. We'll be driving over there in 2 minutes.
County 10-10, just want to confirm we don't need a third because we were getting 47 for you.
Of course, it's Gervin. County, yes, we're going to need that third rig down here.
The third BLS is Montgomery. They're en route. They're going to be stationed.
Stay alive, yes. 10-10, County. All right, that Montgomery unit can disregard. We have enough ambulances down here now. 10-10, Edmonds, can you come down here? On my way. 10-42, County. I'll be on Corporal Lane. 10-10, County. You can put me out there as well.
So obviously the compressed radio file is just a compilation of all the different broadcasts that happened during this incident and all the space, all that time in between the transmissions. You know, it may have been 30 seconds before transmission was made, 2 minutes of silence before transmission was made. The compressed radio file just basically takes out all that dead space, and I think this was like an 8-minute file, so the duration of the actual radio recordings could have been 30 to 45 minutes or something like that, and a lot of that would be attributed to just silence, no one talking on the radio at a particular time, and that could be, like I said, that could be seconds, that could be minutes, and it adds up. So the compressed file is just a nice little quick run through of all those communications on that night. So those are the audio files. Done with those. Now we're going to go into the body camera files. Keep in mind that a lot of this at the beginning is from where they turn their camera on, and they just include this. So there's a lot of stuff that doesn't go on at the very beginning of the recording, but they still threw it in there. So obviously this is him responding to the location. We can see in the windshield here the interior light bar. So this is a downside to having the interior lights in the vehicle. You get a lot of splashback off the windshield, and it actually kind of makes it hard to see very well at night when you're driving emergency. It's great for having a low profile look, not having a big old light bar on top of the vehicle, and reducing wind drag on the vehicle from having a big light bar. You don't have to drill holes into the roof of the vehicle to run cords, so that improves the resale value, and you minimize any chances of there leaks being started around that hole. Sometimes the sealant, can crack or whatever, and you get water leak coming in through that hole. It just does make for a nice, sleeker look. But the downside is nighttime, there can be a lot of flashback. Of course, interior light bars come in all kinds of different shapes and sizes and configurations. Some of the companies make very specific light bars for particular models of vehicles so that there is a more flush custom fit. And then there's some that are just kind of a general interior light bar that you can just put in any vehicle. All you need to do is mount it through the sun visor or go in through the ceiling of the vehicle and mount it that way. When those general lights are put in, that's when you notice a lot of flashback on the windshield, and it starts hitting the dashboard and everything. So, although these are nice, they can kind of suck.
Birthday Canada resident will be on location.
I'll go ahead and skip through some of this. So he used his lights to get to the area, and then he turned them off. This is a pretty common tactic for law enforcement when responding to a call, especially when that call involves someone that could be dangerous. You don't want to broadcast, so to speak, your exact location leading all the way up to their driveway, because then they're going to know exactly where you're at. And if they're wanting to ambush you, well, that puts you at a disadvantage. So he kills his lights, and he drives without them on until he gets to where he needs to go.
Possibly have the owner of the phone or Joshua Mathis.
So, maybe I spoke too soon. I thought that's what was going on.
Oh shit.
Time, he said, I don't know.
Is corp on?
My radio. You see that address? There's that mailbox right there. Yeah. So it's in here, but we got to figure out.
It's a Corporal Langan ad.
What's the apartment number again?
Yeah, but there's I think on that side.
What's up, Mathis? What number they say? What the fuck? Hey, listen. How about we'll go with him. We'll split up. I think he's right, top 4. Right?
So they're trying to figure out where they need to go. And when you're dealing with a large apartment complex or subdivision type of setup, it can be hard to pinpoint where exactly you need to go. Even for houses, if they're not well marked, meaning the house address isn't very visible from the roadway, it can be pretty hard to find a house sometimes. Sometimes people, they have just a little small lettering on their mailbox, which is fine for the post carrier when they're delivering mail during the day. But for police at night, those little numbers, sometimes they don't show up very well. And sometimes, they may have the small numbers on a mailbox on their front porch, but you can't realistically see that shit from the roadway. There are some people who make it easier for emergency services to be able to see the address from the roadway, and they'll get lettering that are numbers that are, a few inches tall. That way they're very visible from the roadway. Some people who live out in the country, they'll get basically, it's like a road sign kind of looking address, bright green reflection and white lettering on it, and they'll put that on top of their mailbox. That way it makes it easier for emergency responders to find that address if they need to, and they're not having to slow down and look really hard at the small numbers on the mailbox. When you have a big, almost street sign looking placard on top of a mailbox with big fat numbers on it, it makes it really super easy to figure out where the hell you need to go. Apartment complexes or big complexes or whatever, sometimes there's no easy way to differentiate, which building's what. Apartment 105, well, you come in and there's like 7 different buildings. Some of the buildings may have a letter, A building, B building, C building, whatever. And it may have to the side, say 100 through 150 or something, apartments 100 through 150 are here, and the next building it'll say 150 through, whatever. Sometimes those aren't very large, and whenever they were put in, all the shrubs and the trees and stuff were all nice and neatly trimmed, and then as time's gone on, maintenance hasn't taken care of that stuff, and sometimes shrubs can actually cover those markings and make it difficult to see where you need to go. And then also the same issue of small numbers. You can't see those things from a good distance. You have to get up a lot closer to read them and figure out what the hell they're saying. So I don't know the particular layout here of this place, obviously, but it does seem a large enough place where it's making it a little confusing to them on where exactly they need to go.
Hospital appointment. Any attention to the second floor, please. There's more down here. Yeah, it's going up, I think. Hold on. Tom. One. Yeah. All right, so over here. But there's some on that side, too. Confirm with them that they don't have one. Can we get a ping on
Little D, do you on that side?
I should write. All right. All right. Yeah. Me and let's start getting.
All right. Some people start getting people out of these apartments.
Got people in the car right there behind us.
So earlier, when they were out in the roadway, I think I saw like 3 officers with rifles, and I like that. That is often one of my gripes when it comes to these videos, seeing officers get out on calls involving potential gunplay and they don't get a rifle out. That is wrong. If you know you're going to a gunfight, you bring a rifle. Rifles outperform pistols every day of the week, no contest. The only reason why pistols are carried is because they're comfortable and convenient. You can carry them all day, it doesn't hurt, and there is not gunfights going on every single day, multiple times a day, for the overwhelming majority of law enforcement in this country. So a pistol is acceptable to be able to be carried on a daily basis because you're not getting into gunfights on the daily basis. And a pistol will be suffice in being able to respond to sudden and rapidly evolving tense situations that may require the use of deadly physical force. They do have incapacitating capability, and they will kill. However, compared to a rifle, they suck. Oh my God, they suck ass. A rifle is a fucking champion. The terminal ballistics, it's like trying to compare apples to oranges. I mean, a rifle is just devastating, and it has superior incapacitating capability, and it will stop a fight real fast. You may have to shoot a person multiple times with pistol, and they could still get back up. That's happened. There's been people shot in the head with pistols, and they did not die. They still were able to move around and do stuff. Now, granted, there have been people who've taken a rifle hit to the head, but odd angles and stuff were in their favor, because if not, then a bullet going straight from the nose, straight through the nose and out the back of the head, they would not be surviving that. So, people who took these rifle hits to the head, they came in an odd angle and just did not obliterate the brainstem at all. So there's that. But there's very few people who can even survive, stuff like that. Because a rifle round just dumps so much energy into the target. It is just devastating. So I like how I saw some officers get rifles out. These three initially who come up here, it looks like only one has a rifle. The other two have pistols. And one of them has a shield, so that's kind of a given that they're going to be using a pistol. It's easier to use a pistol with a shield. They finally identify the building they need to be going into, and we'll go from here.
Okay, top is on. Bottom right here. Yep. Okay, second.
On the right?
On the right. Second door on the right. Yep. Hey, we're getting more contact. Yep. It's a second floor window. What's he saying?
I thought
Lower floor.
first floor.
Okay, go get glass. Alright, somebody where can hit those? Have a shield boots. Alright. Don't have them, get behind me.
Where are we at? Alright. You want me to get the
Last
gate?
floor on the right. Yeah. Alright. Last floor on the right? Yeah, last floor on the right. Alright, I'm gonna go up and clear that staircase. Okay.
So they're able to utilize a code to get in. And there's a lot of apartment complexes that do have coded access for their buildings. Generally, apartment managers, emergency contacts for the property will share these access codes to local law enforcement and emergency services. And there may just be a general code that is used for police, fire, and EMS. It's not a recommended code, but some places will just use 911. You type in 911 and it opens. Or if it's a 4-digit system and you can't go any lower than 4, then it could be like 0911. That's pretty easy for people to remember, but for people who are not supposed to be there and trying to get access to something pretty quick, then obviously that's an easy guess right there. It's easily, quote unquote, hackable. Some apartment complexes will just use the zip code for that area and let local responders know. Other than that, there may be a changing code for people to be able to get in, and the emergency contact for that would have to be able to update the dispatch center of what that's going to be, or the alarm company would be able to pass along access code stuff to local responders. There are some apartment complexes and hotels who have a good working relationship with local law enforcement, and for those places that have access control with RFID cards, they've actually given officers those copies of cards so they can get in after hours. So like a lot of your, I don't want to say a lot, but there are some night shift officers in towns who their beat that they're normally assigned to has hotels in it, and they'll go make contact with the night shift people and management, and they'll give them an RFID card, so that if they need to be able to access side doors and stuff like that at night, they could do that. That's pretty cool. That's a pretty good working relationship. The downside is if you have a whole crap ton of hotels, or even apartments like that, then you could accumulate quite a few RFID cards, and you would have to come up with some type of labeling and organizational type of system for that to be able to keep track of them all, because you're definitely not going to be able to keep them in your wallet if you accumulate a bunch of those. Now, once access is gained on a door like this, there is a tactic to be able to keep this door open. That way, follow-on responders don't have to keep pestering dispatch for what the code is, or tying up valuable airtime on the radio. Like, you don't want people, eating up airtime on the radio asking what a freaking access code is when someone could be having an emergency and needs that airtime. So you can get these products that are basically like oversized industrial rubber bands with pre-cut holes in them, and you can slip those holes over doorknobs from front to one side to the other, and the band itself covers the little locking latch on the door, so that when the door closes, the little nub doesn't go in the hole and cause it to relock. There's another product that looks similar to like a horseshoe or something like that, and it's rubber and it's tensioned, and so you can, same kind of concept, you just slide it onto the door where one's on one side, the other's on the other, and it prevents the door from closing all the way. There are wedges that you could keep in your car and bring them with you, and as you get up, you just take that wedge and wedge the door open. And then there's simple little fixes. You can go to a hardware store and just get a little metal bracket thing or something like that, and reach up onto the top of a door frame or something like that, or a door, and hook this little bracket in there, and it's thick enough to where it would prevent the door from closing all the way on its own. So there's different things you can do to keep that door completely open. Or if there's objects around, there's chairs, there's a cigarette, I forget the name for it, like a big flower pot looking thing for cigarettes. You can move that thing and get into the door. If the door has the hydraulic arms, they allow it to close behind it. Depending on how those are designed and what they look like, you could potentially utilize that to keep it open. They may have a little tab on there that you could push or actuate, something on there that you could actuate that would actually keep that hydraulic arm from keeping the door closing all the way. So whatever method you use, you need to come up with some method to be able to keep these doors open at these apartment complexes and or hotels where the doors close on their own and relock.
Sign black try.
Alright, I'm gonna go around.
I gotta shoot one then. Stand on your ass. Just like this. What do we got the process for? Alright, it's not fucking working. got highs, right, Scotty? I got it. All right. Get moved to the right square. All right, Rick, I'm going to beat feet past that door. Okay?
Even something like a rug in front of the doorway. You could take that rug and just pull it out and have it go over the doorstop thing right there, the threshold, and that would keep the door propped all the way open for you.
What the fuck? She's going up. She's coming out. Get her out here. Come outside. Mister, you is James here? Is James here? Okay. You said he had his gun. The mother's still helping me. Okay, then let's go help him then. You already told you had a gun.
What's happening? Yeah, you don't have to.
Okay. All right. Hold the perimeter.
He's stretched out.
Does he have any weapons?
He got a knife in his hand.
He got a knife in hand? Okay. Taser. Who's got it? Who we call him? What's his name? His name's James, right?
I call him Roland name James.
Okay. What does he like to be called?
Noah.
Noah? No. Let's open this door. Noah! Where you at, big guy?
Okay. So there's multiple people here, and there's this woman who's made contact with them. They've gotten information about, what he likes, how he likes to be addressed, and if he has any weapons or anything like that.
Rick! Hey, it's Rick. It's Rick. Put the knife down, bro.
Now,
Get out of here. Bro, look at
one thing I'm not liking is the fact that he's allowing her to go back into this apartment. This has the capability of turning violent real quickly, and she could be caught in crossfire. The other person could be caught in crossfire. I think it would have been better to pull these people out of the apartment and get them away from this person. That way, they're not at risk. If shooting has to happen, they're not in crossfire. If this guy decides he's going to stab one of them, he can't stab one of them.
No, I'm going to sit right here. Listen to me. No, don't charge. No, please. No, I'm not. This is your space. Hold on, I'm going to talk. Hey, no one's coming any closer. All right? Listen to me. Can you listen to me? It's me talking now.
I don't want to listen to nobody. I'm ready.
What can I do to help you?
Take your gun and shoot.
No, never going to happen, brother.
I think you should have counted 30 in my head before I started.
No, we don't want to do that.
Whoa. It's not real. It's not real.
Okay, it's not real. It's plastic. It's clear. Okay.
You're at 20 now.
Okay. There's no reason. No, we don't need to do this. No. Hey, no. What kind of music are you into?
I don't want.
What kind of music are you into? What can we do to help you? No. What kind of music are you into?
This looks like a help.
Okay. Listen, we're going to need your help. I don't want him to get hurt. This is crazy. No. Give me 2 minutes. How about that? 120 seconds to talk to you.
Let Rick talk.
Give me 120 seconds, Noah. Give me that. And then we got to do what we got to do. Yeah, we want to give me 120. Go.
Taser.
Give me 120. Go.
So the only thing, as far as less lethal, that is in play here is a taser. He has a thicker jacket on. Although the green door carts have extended darts on them to be able to deal with thicker clothing, still, it is a thick jacket, and it's going to be difficult for those probes to get through. This is the thing that sucks about wintertime. The more clothing there is, the less effective tasers become. Summertime's great for tasers. People have less clothing on. You can get real good NMI during the summertime. Wintertime, sucks ass. So, and I don't know what equipment they have available to them. If they had access to something like a 12 gauge beanbag gun or a 40 millimeter launcher, those I think could have been better options, Now, they do have a failure rate as well. They don't always work. You can actually find quite a few videos of people being hit with beanbag rounds, and it has no effect on them whatsoever. Even the 40mm launchers. They're just pain compliance, basically. And some people can fight through pain. I think that it could have been a better option to also have something like a pepper ball gun or just a big MK9. And I really think that pepper spray has, I don't want to say gone out of style, but it's like people have forgotten about pepper spray. And I'm a big fan of pepper spray. It works. Now, there's some people it just doesn't work on very well. But in my experience, everyone that I've sprayed, I've got the desired result. Like when they were acting stupid, I sprayed them, and then they stopped acting stupid. It just works. Now, the thing that sucks about pepper spray in enclosed environments, everybody feels it. So if they would have sprayed him, they too would have been inhaling in some of those OC particles in the air, and they'd start coughing and start getting the watery eyes and everything. But it would have, I think it would have caused this person to experience involuntary eye closure and a lot of pain, and it would have been hard for them to effectively charge at them if they can't see where they're going. And this is also why I think it would have been the better idea to have this girl completely removed out of the equation. Like, get her, don't even let her walk back into the apartment. And the guy that he was talking to, have him come out of the apartment. Of course, standing in the fatal funnel is not the best place to be at, but I think that they could have done some stuff from the doorway before ever trying to go inside this apartment. Number one, not even allowing the girl to go in, and then number two, having the guy, not this dude, but the other dude he was talking to, come out of the apartment as well. And then they could engage in conversation with this guy from the doorway area, and he'd be at the kitchen. And then if he wanted to advance towards the door, they could very easily back away from his apartment door and go back out into that foyer area and have a little bit more room, and it's going to be a lot more lit with overhead lights. As he starts to approach, they start yelling.
Yeah, we want to
So the taser, where he was standing at over here, the taser would have reached him. So before he ever got to this corner right here at the wall, the officer with the taser should have just went ahead and deployed taser at him. You can't see very well where the dot is. You kind of see it in his stomach area, so we know the top probe is going in here, and bottom probe should be going maybe right in here somewhere, if not a little bit lower. So he deploys taser, and I think because of the thicker jacket, there's a clothing disconnect, and it doesn't get the circuit. If he had achieved NMI, he would not have been able to do all this. He would have locked up right there and most likely fell forward and hit his face on the ground. Happens super, super quick. Officer with the shield comes in and just drills him with that shield, knocks his ass over. Or, I'm sorry, attempts to knock his ass over. Doesn't work very well, and officer ends up having to transition to his gun and fire lethal rounds to deal with the deadly physical threat. This officer here with the rifle the officer with the rifle had full capability of being able to shoot this guy with the rifle, but he never did.
Where's he hit? Where's he hit? Where's he hit? Get the jacket off.
And now, finally, someone decides to turn on the overhead lights.
Get the jacket off. Give me a mess. Give me a mess. Are you kidding?
So when I talk about pistols versus rifles and why pistols are carried more often because they're more convenient and comfortable to carry, this is what I'm talking about. This rifle, he has it slung kind of funny, but it's just not easy and comfortable to carry a rifle around. I mean, imagine trying to walk around with your rifle like this all day. It's going to be bumping into stuff, knocking things over. It's just going to get in the way. It's not very comfortable. So if you've never carried a rifle before, or shotguns or anything like that, this is kind of a good visual illustration of why a pistol is just so much easier to carry day in, day out. I mean, it's just right there, goes alongside the leg. It doesn't, I mean, yeah, sometimes, you'll bang into a door frame or something like that, but other than that, you don't have this big fucking barrel sticking out, banging in the stuff. Now, like I said, he is kind of wearing this a little awkwardly. It could have been positioned a little bit differently, but still, even then, when you're wearing it more traditional two-sling style, that barrel is going to be sticking out from the side a little bit. This officer over here appears to have more of a one-point type of configuration, and although that can be easier to deal with, when it comes to doing other stuff, well, that's kind of your only place to be able to keep that rifle is right there in front of you. And you don't always want the rifle in front of you all the time. Sometimes it's nice to be able to put it behind you.
You okay?
All right, so that's the end of that one. I'll play the taser video next. That taser video is actually the last one on here, but since this first officer fired his taser, we'll go straight to the taser video. Then we'll go to body camera 2, 3, and 4. So the taser camera only activates when the taser device is turned on. When you undo the safety switch. So the taser gun has a safety switch similar to like a gun that has a manual safety on it. And you just flip it up into the fire position, and once you do that, the camera starts rolling. You can see the lasers pointing down at the ground. So he has a newer model taser. The top laser dot is where the top probe is going to impact. And then the bottom flashing laser is where your bottom probe is going to make contact. So in this at this distance, if he would fire this taser, then this could be a good approximate visualization of where the probes are going to hit. That's super close, and so that's going to not be able to achieve NMI. You generally want a larger spread when it comes to the darts. So when we look at the floor right here, if top probe could be here, and then bottom probe could be here. That's good spread, and you're more likely to get NMI with more spreadage like that. Obviously, he's got this pointed at the ground, so the closer the cartridge is to the target, the closer the darts are going to be. The top cartridge pretty much comes out at a flat trajectory, and the bottom, I'm sorry, I said top cartridge. The top probe of that cartridge comes out at a pretty flat trajectory, and the bottom probe actually goes downwards at a 90-degree angle. That way, as the probes travel out of the cartridge, the bottom one is going downwards, and it's creating that spread. And like I said, the spread is what you want when it comes to neuromuscular incapacitation. Now, since the taser gun is shaped a lot like a firearm, it can be common for a person to mimic the two-handed grip on a taser like they would their handgun, because it's just muscle memory. And this officer, he appears to be getting a two-handed grip on the gun, and unfortunately it's obscuring the camera. So the taser gun itself, the camera is actually a part of the battery for the taser gun, and it's at the bottom of the handle, the pistol grip, so to speak. So it can, inadvertently get covered up. With that being said, we can't see very well the probe or the dot placements. We do see that first dot right here, but it's kind of hard to really tell exactly where that bottom laser is at. So you kind of get an idea that if you look through the little play button, you see that top laser beam right below the play symbol, and then you see the bottom one here. So you can see that as he has brought this taser gun up and is pointing it towards him, the distance between these lasers has increased. But it's really hard for me to get it paused just in time to be able to see a better view of where these lasers are when he comes in the view, because it's very quick that his hand getting a grip on the taser covers up the view. So he's over here. We see maybe an optimal spread, but he's actually a lot closer when he finally does fire. So it's really hard to tell the distance here and where the laser beams are at, and get an idea of what the spread could be. Obviously, we can see that top laser, and we can't see the bottom one. And it could be just like right there where his finger's at. And so when you think about that, can you get NMI from this spreadage right there? Yeah, sometimes. It's better if you get, like I said, the more spread there is, the better. But this jacket, I think, is really the culprit here, and why the taser was unsuccessful. I think it was simply too thick for that top probe to be able to fully go all the way through. That bottom probe, I'm imagining it, if it didn't hit into his abdomen, then it may have hit into his pelvic or leg area where the jeans cover. And that one could have gone in and touched skin, and he would have been feeling pain, which you see him kind of double over a little bit. I don't know if that was just in reaction to hearing the pop of the taser, because the taser does make a popping noise. And he could have been reacting to that and reacting to the wires that are coming out of the taser, because you can see the wires come out, and he could just be reacting to the image of that, and it kind of startling and scaring him. Or that bottom probe could be sticking into his body and actually making contact, and it's causing pain, but because the top probe is stuck in the jacket and hasn't gone all the way through, it's not completing the circuit. That would be my best guess. And actually, that looks like that right there at the edge of the play thing. That maybe looks like that could be a capture of the laser beam right there, the bottom one. Possibility. Not sure 100%, but it's a possibility. And then it ends. So now we go into body camera 2. So he gets out of the car and the shield is already out and ready. So he could have been having this ride shotgun with him. I kind of doubt that. So probably what happened was this officer stopped while en route to this call, got the shield out and got it pre-staged up in the front cab with him. That way when he comes to a stop and dismounts from the vehicle, he's got it. He ain't got to go rummage around the back, getting it or whatever. He's able to quickly deploy from the vehicle and have it. That's a good tactic to do. That allows you to be able to rapidly move once you get on scene. And I actually advocate doing that if you have a rifle in the trunk or the cargo hold of the vehicle. If you're going to a call that you, like I said, if you go to a call involving gunplay or physical violence that could turn deadly, you want to bring a rifle. So if you're going to a call and your rifle's in the back cargo hold or trunk, the best thing to do is, while en route, pull off to the side, get out real quick, go grab it, pull it out, charge it, get back in the car, and proceed to the scene. That way, when you roll up on scene, you can roll out that vehicle with a rifle in hand, and you don't have to go messing around trying to find it. Pulling off the side of the road doesn't take that long. It really doesn't. Now, some people would say, well, if it doesn't take that long, then it doesn't take it long to get out when you get on scene. Well, when you get on scene, things can very rapidly evolve, and you may not have the opportunity to actually go back to the trunk and try and get it, because you could be taking fire. Once you get there, you could be having to run to assist someone, and you just don't have that luxury of taking the time to get the rifle. That's why it's better, while en route, just pull off to the side, get out, go to the back, grab it, bring it back, get in the cab, charge it, and go. And or getting other equipment, like this officer getting the shield out and ready. That's smart, forward thinking.
On the right here? It's in here. What side is it?
So we saw a lot of this earlier. This is kind of the same stuff.
Alright, hold on. What's that? Yeah, I know, but it's going up, I think. Hold on. Bottom right here. Yep. Second. Right there. It's lower floor. Right? The last one right?
You got high, correct, Scotty?
I got it.
All right.
The room to the right's cool. All right. Is James in there? Okay, is James in there? Is James in there? Oh, okay. He said he had a gun. Okay, then let us go help him. Is he in there? Okay, then let's go help him then. We were told he had a gun.
What's happening?
Okay. Hold the perimeter.
Does he have any weapons?
Okay.
Okay.
So she says, he don't have any weapons. And then when they press the issue and ask more specifically, then she says he has a knife in his hand. A knife, of course, is a weapon. Some knives are utility tools. But it can very quickly become a weapon. It can very quickly become a deadly instrument. Sometimes a knife can actually be deadlier than a pistol. It can cause some very devastating injuries and make it harder to stop bleeding.
Who's got it? Let me talk to him. What's his name? His name's James, right? Okay, is it really, what does he like to be called? Noah? Just open this door up for me. Noah! Where you at, big guy? Hey, it's Rick. It's Rick. No. Put the knife down, bro. Take the shield, give me my hands. Bro, look at me. No, I'm gonna stay right here. Listen to me. My name's Rick. No, don't charge. Noah, please. Noah, I'm not. This is your space. Hold on, I'm gonna talk. Hey, Noah, no one's coming any closer. Alright? Listen to me. Can you listen to me? It's me talking now.
I don't want to listen to nobody. I'm ready.
What can I do to help you?
Take your gun and shoot.
Never gonna happen, brother.
I didn't to the count of 30 in my head before I tried.
Okay.
No.
What do that here? Shoot. Shoot.
It's not real.
Okay, it's not real. It's plastic.
Okay. You're at 20 now.
Okay. There's no reason for that.
So luckily they were able to identify that it was a replica firearm. Now, I don't know what that is.
Okay.
You're at 20 now.
Okay. There's no reason for this.
You don't need to do this.
Shoot.
It's not real.
Okay, it's not real. It's plastic.
Okay. You're at 20 now.
Okay. There's no reason for this.
So I don't know if that was like a Nerf gun that he pulled
Hey,
out.
Noah, what kind of music are you into? What kind of music are you?
I don't know what that is. Obviously, the officers are going to be able to see with better clarity with their eyes than what we could ever see through these camera lenses. And so it's something that they could have, once he started to pull it, be able to very easily say, well, that looks nothing like a gun. It looks like a Nerf gun. Because it does have a weird, odd shape to it. I would hope that that's what's going on, that these officers could visually determine that it was such an odd-looking object that, it's no way that it could be a gun, versus they're just listening to the woman and the guy say that it's not real. Because I certainly don't ever want to advocate that you listen fully to what other people are saying, because they don't know what the hell they're talking about. Case in point, the woman earlier, when they asked if he had any weapons, and she said no. And then, when pressed again, she said, well, he has a knife. Some people are totally ignorant when it comes to weapons and things of that nature, and they don't know the difference between what's real and what's fake. So I would not 100% trust what bystanders have to say. You have to base it off your observations. You have to use your senses to be able to determine whether or not if the thing is real or not. And it could also be that the other people just simply lie because they don't want to see their friend or family member get shot, and they think, oh, well, you know, they're not really going to do something, so I'll just tell them it's fake. You know, yeah, it's not real. And so they could be going from that mindset, and it could very well be real. And they could shoot you with it, or they may not ever have any intentions of shooting you with it, and they just want you to shoot them. You just really have no way of knowing what the person wants to do because you can't get inside their head. But they were able to determine this thing's not a gun, and so they didn't shoot. They could have, if this, you know, let's say that they were able to visually look at this and have a good visual on it and be like, that's not a gun, that's a toy. What if he had something that looked more real? The minute he started pulling it out right there, yes, 100% they could have started shooting.
No. What kind of music are you into?
Well,
what kind of music are you into? No. What kind of music are you into?
okay. Well, for some reason, it is wanting to pause on me. Well, I don't know what's going on here. Let me refresh.
What kind of music are you into? No. What kind of music are you into? Listen, we're gonna get you help. Yeah, I know. We don't want him to get hurt. This is crazy. We want Noah. Give me 2 minutes. How about that? 120 seconds to talk to you. Give me 120 seconds, Noah. Give me that, and then we got to do what we got to do. Give me 120, Noah. Noah.
Even when he gets closer, it's really hard to tell the laser placement on there because his shield starts to come up and obscure the view.
20, Noah.
So I liked his effort in trying to use this shield to just knock the shit out of him. That can be a good tactic. I mean, one, the shield's heavy. It's got some mass to it. It's made out of bullet-resistant material. And even for the shields that, you know, aren't made of bullet-resistant material, they're just the big plexiglass kind of shields or whatever, like the big riot shields or whatever that you would see police use. Those can be good tools to be able to just ram into someone and knock them off balance and take them off their feet. I mean, it could be an effective tool just to go up and kind of like hockey, you know, just come up and just fucking body check someone and knock them on their ass. That can decentralize somebody. That can cause them to lose grip on the weapon and it goes sliding across the floor. And then two, I mean, if you suddenly just get knocked on your ass, I mean, that kind of disorientates you to some extent. Now, obviously, it's not going to be 100% disorientation, and the person's going to be looking around like, "Oh my God, what happened?" But it can disorientate them long enough to be able to give you time to get a position advantage over them.
Just get the knife out of his hand. Knife out of his hand. Where's he hit? Where's he hit? He hit. Get the jacket off. Get the jacket off. Get the jacket off. Get EMS. EMS. Back door. Okay, see where the where's he at? I think it's a headshot, dude. You okay? Where's that knife? Where is this knife? I got it. I threw the knife away. Where is he hit? I got the knife. 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 Where is he hit? I got the Where's the hits? You got LS coming? Yeah, we got LS. Shots fired. Suspect down.
All right, and the video ends here as they are attempting to start rendering medical aid.
Everybody watching.
So this is the supervisor's perspective.
We're going right. I think it's the top floor apartment. Here, fuck that.
Does he have any weapons? He has a knife in his hand? Okay, Taser. Who's got it? Let me talk to him.
What's his name? His name's James, right?
So this is kind of a common downside to a rifle because it ends up being kind of slung to the front of your body. The rifle actually gets in the way of the body camera and starts obscuring the vision a lot. I don't know of any good remedies for this. I obviously have the same issue. When I get my rifle out, it blocks my body camera. And actually, another downside to my rifle too is my mount for my aim point. It's an older school type, and the little knob sticks out. And I've actually, with my rifle having it out, that little knob pressed into my body camera has actually turned my body camera off before, and that kind of sucks. But that's the reality with stuff, and I don't know of any easy fix for this. The only thing that I could think of that would be an added, I don't know if you call it an added benefit, but something that would be easy to incorporate onto a rifle would just be a camera on a rifle. Now the issue with that would be the charging and everything. So if the camera is kept in the front cab of the vehicle, it's plausible that you could have a magnetic charging cord going to it. That way when you go pull the rifle out of the mount, it just quickly disconnects. If you have to keep it in the cargo hold inside a rifle case or something like that, then keeping that camera charged could turn into an issue. But if all works well, then what better way to capture shooting incidents from the rifle perspective is to have a camera on the rifle itself. Obviously, I guess, technology hasn't flourished well enough to get to that point, or else we would see stuff like that. There are cameras you can put on rifles, but the keeping the batteries charged problem that I mentioned is a reality. Other than a flex camera from Axon, where the body of the camera itself can be put anywhere, and you have a little cable going up for the bullet camera to put on your shoulder or something like that. That's probably about the only workaround for this kind of problem, because it puts that camera at such a higher plane. But as I've noted before, those cameras, I'm not the biggest fan of them because their weight and the uniform, the epilots, the way they kind of fold, I guess you could say, or easily crinkle and move. Oftentimes you see those cameras just pointing at the ground, and it doesn't capture a whole lot. Or when a person moves their head a certain way, all you see is their freaking jaw.
Okay. Is it really, what is your name called? Noah? No. It's right in this room. Noah! Where you at, big guy? Hey, it's Rick. It's Rick. Put the knife down. Look at me. No, I'm just right here. Just move it into the door. I mean, no, don't charge. No.
So he is thinking from the mindset when he tells him to go through the door. He is thinking of the mindset of fatal funnel. That is a reality that does exist. You don't want to stay in a door frame. That's generally a bad place to be. And that's what I think this supervisor's mindset is hey, move in, get out of the door. No problem with that. But as I talked about in the first video, I think it could have worked to their advantage if they just stayed out of the apartment and prevented the woman from going in and pulling that other guy out. That way he'd be left in there all by himself. And if he did charge towards them, they would have a lot more space to be able to back up in that foyer and maybe be able to do something a little bit different. I think it probably still would have ended in a shooting because it appears as though the only things they have available to them are tasers, and his thick jacket, as I talked about earlier, I think is the culprit in causing a clothing disconnect.
No, please. No, I'm not. This is your space. You don't want to do that. Hey, no one's coming any closer. All right? Listen to me. Can you listen to me? It's me talking now.
I don't want to listen to nobody. I'm ready.
What can I do to help you?
Take your gun and shoot.
No, we don't want to do that, brother.
I give you to the count of 30 in my head before I...
No, we don't want to do that. No. It's not real. Okay, it's not real. It's plastic. It's clear. Okay.
You're at 20 now.
Okay. There's no reason. No, we don't need to do this, Noah. Come on. What kind of music are you into? What kind of music are you into? What can we do to help him? How can we do this at the house? Okay, I know, but if he's not... I don't want him to get hurt. This is crazy. No, that's easy. Give me 2 minutes. No, 120 seconds to talk. Let Rick talk.
So the supervisor is trying to lead the other officers. He's trying to get the less lethal guy to get his taser ready, and he's also trying to talk to her to maybe get some more information on how to be able to build rapport with this guy and get some change going on here, because what's happening is not working.
Give me 120 seconds, now. Give me that. And then you gotta do what you gotta do. Yeah, we don't want to do this. No, we don't want to do this. No, we don't want to do this.
So he has the rifle come up, but he never shoots.
We don't want to do this.
And it almost looks like he comes up on this officer with the rifle.
No, we don't want to do this. No, we don't want to do this.
Okay. So why didn't the officer with the rifle shoot? I don't know. He may have made the conscious decision not to shoot. If that's the case, then I kind of question why he made that decision when this guy with a fucking knife practically comes right up on him. And it almost looks like the officer is having to deflect him in some way. So we'll go back and look at it a couple more times.
No, we don't want to do this.
Yeah, so his arm comes up and he's making contact with him. The suspect's right on top of him. Why? I don't know why he didn't shoot. If he made the conscious decision not to shoot, then in my opinion, he made the wrong decision. This is a deadly force right here. This is a threat to his own life. That big ass knife he had, if this dude stabbed the officer in the neck, there's not much that these officers over here are going to be able to do other than watch their partner, watch their supervisor bleed to death in that apartment. Once you cut those carotids, there's not much you can do. you obviously cannot put a tourniquet around someone's fucking neck. Like, that's not going to work. You start putting too much pressure in from the side and you start pushing into the airway, now you're hurting someone's airway. And the carotid is a very, very large artery. And severing it can be disastrous. And you heard the radio transmissions earlier. They did say that their air evacs were not coming due to the weather, which that's common. Air ambulances generally will not fly in bad weather for safety reasons. And I'd have to go back and listen to the transmissions again just to be sure, but it almost sounded like to me that there was some type of time delay, a more significant time delay in the ambulances getting there to them. So if this officer would have been stabbed in the neck, stabbed in the throat, and severed his carotid, sever his trachea, there's not much these officers are going to be able to do for him, and the ambulance is going to take too long to get there and get him to the hospital to do anything for him. He would probably literally just lay there and die in front of them, choking on his own blood. And fuck that. That would be shitty. It's also possible that under the stress of everything, he did intend to pull the trigger, but the safety was on. And that's one reason why I prefer Glocks for pistols, because they don't have manual safeties. I don't have to worry about trying to fuck around with a manual safety during a deadly physical encounter where I am no longer going to be in that cool, calm, collective headspace. My adrenaline's going to be pumping like a son of a bitch. My heart's going to be pumping like hell. A manual safety on a handgun, to me, is a no-go. However, on a rifle, it's kind of required because you don't have a holster to put a rifle into to be able to protect that trigger guard, to protect that trigger. So a safety on a rifle is kind of important. Training is where you become more proficient in your actions and you're able to create muscle memory. So anytime your rifle is coming up to fire, you should be thumbing that safety off. And then when you fire, do your thing, rifle goes down, muzzle moves away from target, you can safety on. So if he would do a lot of repetitions and have that to where when he's at low ready and rifle is moving up to the up position, you just automatically throw safety off, then when you get sights on target, you can press trigger and make gun noises. So it's possible that he just had the safety on and did not disengage it when he brought it up, and he may have attempted to pull the trigger and nothing happening. And it's also possible he never charged the rifle. Never did pull the charging handle back and put it around in the chamber. I see that one a little bit less likely. Although it's still a possibility, I see it a little bit less likely. The two options I think of more probability are he made the conscious decision not to shoot, or the safety was on when he brought the gun up and tried to pull the trigger, and the guy just moved too quick and got into his space, and then he's using his arm to try and push him off. Of course, that can be an instinctive reaction to reach out to someone and try and stop them. You've also got a rifle here. Like, you could very easily take that muzzle and ram it straight into their face. Of course, he's got his sling on and everything, but if he didn't have the rifle slung, he could also even have the option to butt stroke this dude in the head.
Shots fired. Give me the best. Back door. Okay.
So this officer is mindful of the fact that there's an unknown threat over here. And he's had to tell this officer twice to watch this area. The officer went out over there the first time and then walked away and came back over here. That's why I said earlier that I think it would have been a better tactic if they could have drawn these other people out of the apartment and get them out of the equation, because you have no idea how people are going to react once you shoot their friends, you shoot their loved one. This dude well, he didn't actually see the shooting, but he heard it and he knows he shot. This dude, his friend back there, or his brother, I don't know what he is in relation to him. That dude could flip his switch in a moment and be pissed off at these, in his mind, he could be thinking these racist ass white cops killed my buddy because he's black. And he could just flip his shit and come after them. Or he could just not even have any race in the equation whatsoever and just be pissed at these police for killing his friend. And he could go grab a knife and try to come at them with it. You never know. They could be lovers. They could be boyfriend. And for officers and domestics, that's one of the most dangerous things they can be involved in. When two people are in a relationship and emotions are very high, you can have a man beat the crap out of a woman and the woman be crying and being the victim, and when the police go put their hands on that guy to arrest him and drag him out and he's fighting, the woman can actually flip her switch and come over there and start attacking the police because they're hurting her man, the man who just beat the shit out of her. So they don't know the relationships here. Like, they don't know anything. These are unknown contacts, and they could, although they're not acting hostile right now, it does not mean that they could not start acting hostile 5 seconds from now. And until the scene's secure, they have to be watched. And so this is what this officer's doing. He's very mindful of the fact there's an unknown person over here, and he's going into these rooms. Who knows what the hell he's doing in these rooms? So this officer needs to go watch their six while they have their backs turned, and they are task oriented on the guy on the ground here, trying to help him. So you get a better look of the toy that's on the ground. From this angle, it actually looks a lot more kind of real looking.
We got it. We got rid of it. Get the knife. I got the knife. Take care of him. All right, start. Is that LS coming? County, we need LS. Shots fired. Suspect.
So ALS is advanced life support. When you think about pre-hospital care, as far as ambulances go, there's generally two styles. You have BLS and ALS. BLS is just basic life support. That's basically a truck that just has basic EMTs in it. And then advanced life support is a truck that has at least a paramedic on it. Each area is a little bit different on how they set their ambulances up. Their area could be that they have to specify what kind of ambulance they want. Or it just could be something that they're used to saying, and it's more of a culture thing. They just say ALS, and when they really just mean an ambulance. Some places are set up to where it's basically an EMT and a paramedic all across the board, and the only time the ambulance company will ever put two basic EMTs together is for staffing issues and sending them to transport calls and other bullshit, or having them staged for special events. It's really different all across the nation how things are set up. Just like police and fire, I wish there was more what's the word I'm looking for? I guess standards. I wish there was more stuff that would make things pretty darn close all across the board. But from coast to coast, it's just all different. Like, you really don't know what you're going to get going into one particular area. The video is going to be ending here pretty soon, and it's just them doing their medical stuff. So he is putting his gloves on, and his gloves are not going on the easiest. He's having to struggle with them a little bit. I've talked about this before in other videos. Selecting gloves that are more optimal for you. So a tight-fitting glove, in my opinion, is not the best glove to have, because a glove that is tight or very snug to your hand can be more prone to break as you're putting it on. Same concept, same reason about having an appropriately sized condom. If you're trying to put a small condom on a big penis, higher chance of it ripping. So same thing with gloves. I've actually, have ripped gloves trying to put them on because they were too small. And what you don't want a glove that is super baggy, but you want a glove that you can very easily just slip on and then be able to pinch the palm and cuff area of the glove and then be able to peel it off without much effort. So the glove actually needs to be slightly larger than your hand. When you put blood on gloves, blood is very, very slippery. And when you put a very slippery lubricant kind of substance on a nitrile glove or a latex glove, it is super slippery. If you have a tight-fitting glove and your hands are covered in blood and you try to get that glove off, where you go pinch at the cuff and the palm area, try and get a little purchase point to be able to squeeze that material and then roll the glove forward. If it's too tight and it's slippery, you could get a good pinch and then pull forward, and then it slips out of your grip, and then that blood on there, once that glove retracts back and smacks your hand, that blood could splatter off of it and then get on your gear and your uniform, or even onto your face, depending on where your hand's at and where you're trying to get them off at. A looser fitting glove, when you reach down to that area and pinch it and pull the glove, if it's loose enough, obviously the chances of the glove being stretched and then bounce back are decreased because it's just a looser fitting glove. If you have a tighter fitting glove and you can't do the pinching technique, your only option is to either A, have someone with another gloved hand come in and assist you in getting those bloody gloves off, or you're going to have to take your finger from one glove that could already be contaminated and have to slip it in between your wrist and the glove and then try and peel it off that way. And if you've got blood on your digitals, then you are going to be getting blood on you. And you don't want strangers' blood getting on you. You have to assume that everyone you come into contact has something. They have something that is bad. You have to assume they have HIV, AIDS, hepatitis, whatever. Because it would really suck to catch something at work and then never be able to have unprotected sex with your spouse, because you could then infect them. And if you're young enough and you're wanting to start a family, you don't have kids yet, think about that. Like, if you get AIDS at work and you don't have kids yet, how are you and your spouse going to end up having kids? That's going to put a hardship on your life. So always assume that everyone you come into contact with has something, and glove up smartly.
Rock shoes in the back. Rock shoes in the back too. Come on.
Let's see here. That was body camera 3. So we'll now go into body camera 4.
Where are you?
So this officer parks outside of the area and dismounts, gets on foot, and then traverses through the area to get to where he needs to go. That's a good tactic. It's a general tactic that police just do not pull up in their car right in front of the place. That could be dangerous.
Hey, you got it,
What's wrong with my fucking slinger?
So he seemed to be having some type of issue with his sling. I don't know what exactly it was. I don't know.
Johnny, go with that address again? The number?
Your apartment, it shows on a possible match with the bus.
Copy.
Active units come in. Check to make sure our vehicles are secure.
What numbers you got over there?
545
Is it the other way?
So I like his use of cover over here. He's not wanting to go out into the parking lot area, be out in the open, and be exposed. He is instead choosing to be over here in the corner where he has a big fucking brick wall to be able to go in behind if he starts taking fire. And he's in an area that is not as well lit as the parking lot. It's kind of dark and shadowy over here. He's using good cover and somewhat concealment, even though there's not objects that he's behind other than kind of this bush. Being in the shadows itself can kind of be a form of concealment.
Through is right here.
Alright, come down.
Stop. Stay there. I think it said I see through.
Close the door.
So he's being mindful of the fact that they could be getting drawn into an ambush. And that is a reality for law enforcement now. There is a war on law enforcement. And over the years, there have been people who've made bullshit, bogus calls just to try and get law enforcement to come there, and then they ambush them. So I like this officer's headspace. He's got the mindset, he's in the zone. He's not just going straight to the door for the call. He is checking the scene out and making sure it's safe. He is on point with officer safety here. Checking the windows.
Second floor. You guys going in?
Right.
Yeah. Last row on the right?
Yeah, last one right.
All right, I'm going to go up and clear that staircase.
Okay.
Scotty, watch high.
I'm going with you. I got to shoot. I'm staying on your ass. Just like this.
What do we got to drop this door?
Nothing.
You got heights, right, Scotty?
I got it.
All right.
I like how he has his rifle up in ready position. He is ready for the fight. If someone comes out with a gun, this is an ambush call. Someone comes out, he is ready. Like, he don't have to snap up with it. It is already up and ready to go. All he's got to do is hit that safety.
Get me to the right square.
All right, Rick, I'm going to beat feet past that door.
Okay.
All the way to the east side of the building.
She's coming out. She's coming out. Get you guys out. Get her out. Get her out here. Come here.
Come outside.
Miss, are you?
I live here. There's no purpose in here.
Is James?
You just need help. That's all.
Okay. He said he had a gun. Okay. Let us go help him. He's inside.
What's happening?
I told you had a gun.
What's happening?
Okay.
All right.
Hold the perimeter.
What's going on? Does he have any weapons? He's got a knife in his hand? Okay, taser. Who's got it?
What's his name? His name's James, right? Okay. What is he like to call? Noah? Noah! Where you at, big gun? Hey, it's Rick. It's Rick. Put your knife down, bro. Take the shield down. Look at I'm gonna stay here. Listen, into the door. No, hold short. No, please. No, this is your space.
Come back out.
No one's coming any closer. Alright? Listen to me. Can you listen to me? It's me talking. What can I do to help you?
Take your money, shoot.
No, don't worry, you're not, brother.
I did. You should have come to 30 in my head before I started.
Heroes with me. Shoot.
It's not real. Okay, so let's pass it.
Okay, you're at 20 now.
Okay. There's no reason for this.
You don't need to do this.
Hey, Noah, what kind of music are you into? What kind of music are you into?
No.
What kind of music are you into? Listen, we're gonna get you home. Yeah, I know. We don't want him to get hurt. This is crazy. No. Give me 2 minutes. How about that? 120 seconds to talk to you. Give me 120 seconds, Noah. Give me that. And then we got to do what we got to do.
Come on, Noah. Give it to him.
20, Noah. No.
Get the med kit.
Go get the med kit. All right. So, medicine. And there's not much left on this video. It just kind of goes into them starting to provide some medical care. Actually, let me go. Let's watch the rest of this, and I'll go into the medical stuff.
Med kit. More lights.
Give me the best.
Here, watch him. What do you need, Ross?
The back door.
Where's he hit? You okay? Where's that knife? Where is the knife?
I got the 2 minutes left. Where's he hit? I got the knife. Where's he hit?
Take care of my. Take care of my.
You got ALS coming? You need ALS? Shots fired. You got ALS coming? You need ALS?
All right. So medical. He tells the other officer to go get the med kit. When it comes to medical stuff or medical gear, there's 2 types. Actually, there's 3 types of medical gear, in my opinion. One of them is boo-boo kit. And boo-boo kit is just something that has Band-Aids, like ointments for like bugs and stuff, or has like sunscreen stuff in it, like something you can get at Walmart, right? Just a little first aid kit. It's got some like little boo-boo stuff in it. It's got little tweezers, maybe an ice pack. Like it's meant to handle basic stuff. Like a little kid is running around a pool and then slips and falls and scrapes their knee, or kid's riding his bicycle and crashes and gets scratches and stuff on his knees and palms. Little stuff. That's a boo-boo kit. That's not trauma gear. You can't take a Band-Aid and put it on a bullet hole and expect it to do anything. So boo-boo kits, out the window. They have their place. Yeah, you can have a boo-boo kit in the vehicle and be able to take care of minor little scrapes and stuff like that, because obviously you're not going to need to pull out an Israeli bandage to deal with a little nick on your hand. But when it comes to actual dedicated trauma, you need dedicated trauma gear. And there's what I call first line gear and second line gear. And this describes the manner in which it's carried. First line gear is medical gear that you keep on you. And this gear is reserved for just you, your partners, or your family. Generally, no one else gets to use first line gear. And the reason why I say that is because you don't know how much more this scenario can rapidly evolve. There could be more fighting to be had. And if all you have is one tourniquet, and then you use it on the bad guy that you shot, and then his buddy comes around and is pissed off that you shot his friend and wants to shoot at you and you get hit, what are you going to do? Are you going to take that tourniquet off that dude and put it on you? Are you going to take that pressure bandage off them that's already soaked up blood and put it on you? Those aren't viable options. So when it comes to using first line gear on anyone else, you have to know that the scene is 110% safe and that there's 110% chance or likelihood that there is not going to be any more fighting to be had. In order to make that scene safe, you need to have no less than a platoon of officers there. Just 2 or 3 is not going to cut it. Like, it needs to be the whole shift there to make that scene safe before you start using your own tourniquet on anyone else other than you, your partner, or your family. For me, the only exclusion to that is little kids, because they don't have the same opportunities that we adults have, and they're kids. And what I mean by they don't have the same opportunities is little 8-year-olds. They don't have jobs. They don't know what tourniquets are. Some might have an idea of what a tourniquet is, but they don't have a job, and since they don't have a job, they don't have money to go buy this stuff, and they're not going to be carrying this stuff. So they just don't have the same opportunities as adults do. Adults can go get a job. They can go work. They can research this stuff just the same as I have. They can go sign up to get training just the same as I have. They have the same ability as I do. It's not my fault that they chose not to do any of this stuff. Not my fault whatsoever. So first line gear is medical gear that you carry on you and is reserved for you, your partners, and or your family. Second line medical gear is the stuff that you keep in the car to be able to supplement the stuff that's on you and or to be able to use as a standalone kit for everyone else that you don't want to use your first line gear on. So that's where that guy's going. He's going to be getting the med kit. Even though you can see this officer here, he does have a tourniquet on him. So he is pulling his first line gear out in anticipation of using it. But he don't have a whole lot of other stuff on him. At least I'm assuming he probably does not. You can only carry so much stuff on you. And the things that we're wanting to carry on us, the first most important thing when you look at TCCC, Tactical Combat Casualty Care, when you look at that and you look at the data from armed conflicts and battlefield injuries, extreme hemorrhaging is one of the biggest leading causes of death. So for domestic EMS, the acronym ABC is generally followed. Airway, breathing, circulation. For TCCC, it doesn't follow that. It follows March, massive hemorrhaging, airway. I forgot the damn acronym. It's pretty late, but you address the hemorrhaging first, and you address that first under fire. So at bare minimum, you can carry tourniquet on you, and that should be able to be good to treat the thing that has a higher chance of killing you, an arterial bleed from the extremity, like your femoral artery in your leg. With a tourniquet, you can solve that issue. Now, also, you got to think about the data set and everything with extremities, because these protocols are put in place from warfare. And in warfare, there's things like landmines and improvised explosive devices that can cause leg amputations or arm amputations. So there's probably a lot of that in this data set, which is driving the doctrine of treating massive hemorrhaging first. But it's still a good doctrine to follow when it comes to traumatic injuries, combative type of traumatic injuries. So if all you're going to carry is a tourniquet on you, then great. At least you're carrying something. If you don't carry any medical gear whatsoever, and you've got this mindset that, it's in the car, I can go get it if I need it, or you got the mindset of, well, EMS and fire can get here pretty quick, or if you got the mindset of, well, if I need a tourniquet, I can just use my belt, then you got a fucked up mindset. Leaving your only medical gear in the car is disastrous. What if you can't get back to your car? What if someone steals your car? And that happens in law enforcement. Police cars get stolen on scenes. So what if your car gets stolen? It's your only medical gear. What if your car gets set on fire? What if you're pinned down by gunfire and you can't get to it? What if your car is several hundred yards away because you were chasing someone and this incident has moved from point A to B, C, D, E, and you're super far away from it? That's why I say you have to keep some stuff on you. Relying on EMS or fire is not the best option. There are response times for them, and sometimes it can take them 8 minutes to get there. And when it's involving a scene of violence, they are not going to automatically just roll up in the middle of a gunfight and land on the X and start treating injuries. They are not Army medics. They're going to stage in the safety area. And that may be 2 blocks down the road, that may be a mile down the road. So now they're going to be responding. It's going to take them 8 minutes to get there, and then they're going to stop at a staging area. Unless, of course, ahead of time they've already been told it's safe to approach. But until they're told that it is safe to approach, they're not going to approach. So if it took them the full 8 minutes to get there and the scene is not safe yet, then however long it takes for that scene to be safe, they're not going to go there until they're told it's safe to come up there. Then when they do roll on scene, they're going to have to get out of the truck, go grab their med stuff, get the stretcher, come over to you, and then start rendering aid. There's a lot of time involved for EMS and fire to be able to get there on time. You can bleed to death in 90 seconds from a femoral artery hit. 90 seconds, you bleed to death. If it takes them 8 minutes to get there, there's nothing they can do for you. Trying to improvise your belt into a tourniquet? That's stupid. Stop being a cheap ass. Stop being a dumbass. And go get a tourniquet. So bare minimum, you can carry a tourniquet on you. Start with stuff to stop bleeds. And then you can go into airway. But you only carry so much of that stuff on you. You can carry a good amount of medical stuff in a medical ankle holster. So if you already wear an ankle gun as a backup gun, then you could very well easily carry on the opposite ankle some medical gear in a medical ankle holster. I have a video on my channel about medical ankle holsters. You can do an internet search for them. You can buy these things empty and then put the stuff you want to into them, or you can buy them as a fully loaded kit and they come with stuff already in it. Whichever route you want to go, I would highly recommend doing that. I wear a medical ankle holster every day, and it's comfortable. There's just not much to it. Sometimes I just don't even notice that I have it on until my ankle presses up against something, and I can feel the holster around my ankle. If your uniform consists of cargo pants, you could very, very easily put some medical gear in a cargo pocket. If you have an outer vest with pouches on it, then you could very easily add medical gear into that. The second line gear that I talked about, that is to supplement the little stuff that you've carried on you. And it can have more tourniquets in it. It can have more pressure bandages in there. It can have more advanced airway stuff in there. Well, let me back that one up. I don't mean advanced airway like intubation tubes and all that stuff. But I'm like nasopharyngeal airway, oral airway adjuncts, a bag valve mask, face shield, stuff like that. Some agencies and companies can provide this kind of stuff. Some places will only provide a what I call boo-boo kit to the vehicle, and that is to meet some type of insurance requirement or some type of accreditation requirement. And when it comes to putting a first aid kit in a vehicle or inside a building to meet some type of requirement, you can oftentimes see that box still within its package. And people have been given orders, do not open that first aid kit. Like, for people who have not worked in government, like, you would be amazed about some of the stupidity that goes on. Like, being told, hey, here's a first aid kit, but you can't get into it. It's some stupid shit. But those things are there to meet some type of some type of accreditation requirement or insurance requirement. And if there's someone that comes by and does inspections, they check for that first aid box and like, yep, it's there. Checked off. You got it. All right, you're accredited again. Congratulations. Now give me my money for coming around and doing this inspection. Obviously, if you do have one of those boxes and you need to tear into it. But like I said earlier, Band-Aids are not going to fix gunshot wounds. So if your company or agency has not provided any good trauma gear to you, it is up to you to get that stuff. Now you may be thinking, well, why do I want to go spend money on buying stuff to use on somebody I might have to shoot? Hey, I get that. I can get down with that mindset, right? But it's not just them who could be shot. You could be shot. One of your coworkers could be shot. And it could take 8 minutes for an ambulance to get there. Do you want to sit there and watch them bleed to death? And hold their hand? And that be it? That be all you can do? Or do you want the medical gear to help save their life? So think about the people you care about as the reasoning for going out and spending the money on buying your own stuff. There's a multitude of different places to be able to get blowout kits, IFAKs, gunshot wound kits, whatever. They all have like these different little names to them, but they generally contain most of the same stuff. So whatever vendor you choose to go through, you can buy a little kit to have this stuff, or you can go to some distributors and buy all the different components and buy in bulk and make multiple kits or something like that. Or make your own customized kit with all this different stuff in there. Sky's the limitation, so to speak. On top of getting just a basic, IFAK or blowout kit, whatever, you can buy some additional stuff. I think that would be a really great supplement for this kit. And a bag valve mask, in my opinion, is a great tool to have to be able to give assisted ventilations to someone and keep oxygenated blood going to through their body. That kind of stuff. And if you could somehow swing getting an oxygen bottle, that would be cool. It's not a necessity, but a bag valve mask and a face shield or a face mask are going to be some good components to be able to keep in there. If you have someone whose heart's still beating, but their breathing rate is lower, then eventually they're going to go into respiratory arrest, and that's going to lead into cardiac arrest. So you can have a bag valve mask and be able to provide really good ventilations for someone and keep them from going further down the rabbit hole. If you don't have anything to be able to help give ventilations to, then you're not going to be able to give ventilations. Are you going to put your mouth on someone else's mouth and blood's coming out? If it's a stranger, no. The only time I would make an exception for that is a little kid. Anyone else, sorry, you're up creek without a paddle. Co-workers, family members, yeah, I may, suck it up and deal with getting blood on me, trying to give them mouth to mouth or something like that. But it's going to be more effective to have a bag valve mask and a face mask to be able to facilitate that. If you don't have any of that stuff, and you don't want to put your mouth on them, then there's no way to give ventilations. And if they're still breathing, but they're not breathing good enough, like I said, it's going to lead into some issues that's going to cause them to die. If their heart's not beating, then you're doing CPR, and all you're doing is chest compressions only. And although the American Heart and Red Cross, all them say that it's okay to give compressions only, I don't think that it does any good. I think they've just said that to make allowance to be able to provide to people the option to do compression only, because they recognize that there are some people who just do not want to put their mouth on someone else and catch something. And by leaving the curriculum the same as it has been for the past whatever, how many years, they could be putting people at liability to put them in liability for not doing the ventilations. Or people could just be like, well, I'm CPR AED trained, but I don't have any equipment with me, and I don't want to give ventilations to this guy because he looks sketchy, so I'm not going to tell people I'm CPR AED trained because I don't want to get in trouble for not giving ventilations. So I think that's why they said that chest compressions are okay. From a medical standpoint, based off my level of training, I don't think it does the patient any good, because you're just sending the same non-oxygenated blood throughout the body, and the brain can only go so long without oxygenated blood. You need oxygenated blood going to the brain to keep the brain healthy and to keep it from dying. Once that brain goes too long without oxygenated blood, even if they do bring you back to life and stabilize you, chances are you're probably going to be a vegetable, or you're going to have some very severe brain damage, and you will not be the same person that you were. So ventilations are important, and be able to give good ventilations, you need something like a bag valve mask. You can either buy that kind of stuff, or you could probably get it for free from the ambulance. Especially if you're in law enforcement. If you're security, you're probably up creek without a paddle on that one. But if you're working law enforcement, then I would say you stand a pretty good chance of asking the ambulance crew, hey, you got an extra bag valve mask I can have? I'm putting together a trauma kit. Chances are they'll probably give it to you. ask the firefighters. Chances are they'll probably give it to you. Next time you got to take someone to the ER for a blood draw, or you slammed them too hard and cracked their skull, while you're sitting in there, ask one of the nurses, ask the doctor. Chances are they'll probably give it to you. For everyone else who has to pay for this stuff, Chinook Medical is a place that you can go to, and they actually have a product. It's like a pocket sized bag valve mask. It comes in like this little tin can thing, and that's an option right there. Like, it doesn't take up a whole lot of space. Or you can get like the legit big sized bag valve mask and go from there. You could also, what I'd also recommend getting is a suction device, especially for head injuries, or even for those ones who have some lung injuries and you got some blood kind of coming back into the pharynx or whatever. Having a suction device when a person's on their back is a great tool to have to be able to get that blood out of the airway. That way they're not going to be aspirating it and having it go in their lungs and drown in their own blood. Yeah, that's about it. So aside from the equipment for medical training, training is just as important as the medical gear. Now, a small exception to that, you can still have medical gear that you don't know how to use and it still become useful, because there's nothing to say that there couldn't be anyone else on scene who knows how to use it. And the argument that comes in with that is decompression needles. So some IFAKs, some blowout kits come with a decompression needle. And there's a lot of internet dudes who'll gripe about it. And they're like, oh, you shouldn't carry a decompression needle if you're not trained how to use it. Or you shouldn't use a decompression needle if you don't know how to use it. Okay, yeah, I would agree. You should not use a decompression needle on someone if you don't know how to use it. But carrying it, having it, I see no problem with that. Because you could end up finding someone on scene who knows how to use that, and they could be able to put it into play. So the same could apply for some of this other stuff. If you have no idea how to use a freaking bag valve mask, so what? Go ahead and get it. Someone else might know how to use it, and that would be great for them to be able to know how to use. So you can still buy some of this stuff and have no idea how to use it, and it could still end up being useful. But to have it useful for you to be able to use it, you're going to need that training. Most agencies and companies will provide a CPR, AED, first aid course. That course is really only good for the CPR, AED stuff. The first aid stuff that comes in it, I'm not the biggest fan of. And the reason being is it's very broad. It goes over just a lot of basic first aid stuff like hypothermia, diabetic emergencies, anaphylactic shock, stuff like that. And then it'll go into, someone has a cut on their arm, or there's a possible broken bone, whatever. It does not go in depth for covering trauma care. And a basic first aid class, in my opinion, is not enough to be able to give someone so that they can go treat gunshot wounds. The other problem with those classes is virtually anyone can become an instructor to teach those CPR, AED, first aid classes. American Heart, American Red Cross, some of the other entities. You can have a person who has worked at freaking Walmart for the past 10 years, and the only thing they've done is stock shelves. And they've had no medical experience whatsoever. They can go take an instructor class, 2-3 days long, And then at the completion of it, if they pass everything, they can then go out and teach CPR, AED, first aid classes. And they have no background in that stuff other than the 2 to 3 day class they just took. That's scary. So in order for someone to be able to teach pre-hospital care to a level that would be good enough for you, you're going to need to find someone who has a higher level of training than just that. Now, does that mean that every single person who is a CPR, AED, first aid instructor is at the lowest tier and they don't have any other experience? No. There could be people who have prior experience. There could be an EMT on your agency or within your company that could be an instructor, and they have a higher level of training and a higher level of experience. There could be someone who used to be a medic in the Army, had combat lifesaver training, who does those classes, and they would know how to do a more specific course of instruction on how to apply tourniquets. If no one like that exists within your agency or your company, then commercial training is probably going to be the next best option. Sending people off to a commercial school to get a good 2-3 day class in, and then they bring that information back, create your own curriculum, put it into play, and spread it out amongst your people. Or have that school come to your department and then they train everyone up. That can be a little bit expensive, but it's probably one of the better options. The other option is your local ambulance provider. They may be able to put on a special block of instruction for you and teach your guys how to put on tourniquets and put on pressure dressings and stuff like that. How to use the bag valve mask. If you have a local air ambulance provider stationed in your area, they could be a resource on getting classes. They generally do landing zone classes for like local fire departments and stuff like that, but they also can deliver some other medical specific classes, and those could be good ones to get in on and participate in, or just have those particular instructors come out and do a special class. Obviously, that's probably going to only work for law enforcement. They'd be more apt to want to do that. Security companies, they'll probably give you a bill. They'll probably tell you it's going to cost X amount of money to do it. And at that rate, you might as well just go to the commercial school for that. That's it on medical. Yep. All right. So nothing else to watch. No other videos. Covered all the stuff I wanted to cover. If you like what you hear and see, go ahead and give me a like and a share. If you have not already, hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for more Monday quarterback videos. Earl Henderson, Primordial Defense. Thank you for watching.